Welcome to the first ever episode of the Victorious Podcast. And here on the Victorious Podcast, we help entrepreneurs elevate their standard of life, whatever arena that means, whether that's your body, your mind, your relationships, or your wealth. We're going to give you the tools, the strategies, and more importantly, the psychology so you can live whatever life that is, right? So whether it's a victorious life or a superhuman life, whatever that looks like for you, we're going to get you there faster by the knowledge and the tools and the strategies that we're going to bring you here today. So listen, before I get started, whether you're watching this or listening to this, there's a few lessons. And before I even get started, I want to note a few things. If you're listening to this, which by the way, if you can write notes, you're going to get way more out of it if you can write notes. But if you're driving, do not write notes. That's dangerous. But studies show, when you look at the brain, studies show that when you listen passively, you only retain about 7 to 10% of the information. That's why I learned shit in school. I didn't learn anything. I didn't write anything down, right? Now, studies also show that you can take your attention to 40 to 50% if you physically write down notes. You ingrain it more into who you are and what you are. But if you want to take it to a superhuman level and you want to retain about 80 to 90% of the information, you stay in a peak state, you say yes, anything that resonates, you just keep your body in a peak state and you'll actually be able to retain 80 to 90% of the information. So if you're driving, don't take notes, but if you can, this is going to be one of the most valuable podcasts out there. I can tell you that because I'm going to be dropping bombs and so many notes that are going to allow you to go faster, further, or faster, quicker, further, quicker, right? And so with that being said, another thing that I want you to note when you listen to this series of podcasts, because there's going to be a ton. If I ever say anything that makes you upset, that triggers you, that makes you feel insecure, inferior, whatever it may be, I want you to note it. The reason being because if something makes you feel a certain way, that's your mind telling you that there's work that needs to be done. And lastly, the truth is change is hard. Changing your life is hard. If changing your life was easy, everybody would be living their dream life. And the reason why change is hard is for a few reasons. The first reason change is hard is because a part of you, if you want to change, a part of you needs to die. If you want to change, you need to let go of something that doesn't serve you. And most people won't go into the dark waters to let go of what doesn't serve them. And so, if you're up for it, if something ever comes up, lean into that because you may have a shift or you may have a breakthrough. The other reason why change is so hard is because as humans, we change for two reasons. I hold up two fingers, but I only got one. We change for two reasons. And the reasons are pain or pleasure. And the truth is most humans will run away from pain faster than they run towards pleasure. So what that means is humans need to experience enough pain to start the change. Meaning you don't wait to go start working out until you get diagnosed with diabetes. You don't start going to the gym and taking care of your body until someone breaks up with you. You don't start a new business until you're at rock bottom, you're broken, you have nowhere to go, you have no other choice. We hit a pain threshold. And when we hit the pain threshold, we say, this is it. That's done. I want a new life. I want a new standard. I want to get to the next level. But a lot of times humans have to experience enough pain. But I invite you, over the journey of this series of episodes, whatever it may be, I invite you to not wait for the pain to change. You don't need to wait to experience enough pain to change. We can actually change from a state of gratitude, joy, and appreciation. You don't need to wait for the pain. And lastly, the door of transformation is very small, and I call this the portal of transformation. And so if I say something, there may be a breakthrough, a portal that opens up. And that may come about, maybe I say something and a thought goes into your head of like, maybe I should apologize to my dad. Or maybe I should write that letter. And maybe I should do that very thing. That portal's going to open up. And I'll tell you the truth is most people won't jump through the portal because it's scary and it's dark and it's uncertain. But I'll tell you this, if you don't jump through the portal of transformation, that portal closes, the cycle repeats, and you'll have to experience enough pain again for that portal to open up for you to give you the opportunity to jump through. And so is it okay for you? If anything comes up, if a portal opens up, we dive in. Because I want you to have the most change. I want you to be able to shift. I want you to be able to elevate your standards of life. But I can't do it. You have to do it for yourself. And so those are a few housekeeping items. And to get to know me a little bit more is I'm kind of like your baby Yoda. I got it all into my background. It's because I'm short. I'm sweet, I got a lot of wisdom, but most importantly, I ask great questions. And the reason why I ask great questions is because what I've learned from some of the greatest leaders in the world is that they don't give you answers, but they ask specific questions to lead people to the right answers. Who the hell am I to give you answers? I'm just a dude. but I'm going to ask you specific questions to lead you to your own answers. And I want you to note this. The quality of your life comes down to the quality of the questions you ask yourself on a day-to-day basis. What does that mean? Well, our brain is a problem-solving mechanism. And your brain is always going to give you an answer to the questions that you ask it. The truth is, most humans go around the world asking shitty questions. Questions like, why am I not a good father? Why am I not a good mother? Why can't I close this deal? Why can't I build the business? Why does no one like me? Why do I don't fit in? And when you ask those type of questions, your brain's going to give you all the reasons. Whether they're right or wrong, your brain's going to give you a reason. And so even, it's a good thing I got one finger. Take one thing today out of this podcast is you can elevate your life by asking yourself better questions. And I'm going to give you a few of the golden questions that I ask myself as I share a little bit about who I am and what I do. So some of you, this is going to be very entertaining and very interesting for some of you, because some of you knew me from zombie pranks back in the day. Some of you started following me for bodybuilding. Some of you followed me for modeling. Some of you followed me in the speaking and the personal development industry space, the speaking and the coaching space. I'm going to give you a short background of who I am and why I do what I do. Why have I been on the pursuit of mastery of psychology to give people the tools and strategies to take their life to the next level? Why? Why am I doing this, right? So let me give you a little bit background of two things. Why am I so good looking, and why was I born like this? Why do I look this? I was born like this. I gave you the own answer. Which, by the way, you'll notice a lot of things. I know I'm jumping around here, but I want to give you as much value as I can. Nothing here is perfect. You notice my background ain't perfect. Maybe my camera's not perfect. The lights aren't perfect. My mic's hanging out of my shirt. Listen, perfection is the enemy of execution. And perfection is the lowest standard you can have because you can never achieve it. You see, there's too many perfectionists out there waiting for the perfect time. Waiting for the perfect time to launch my funnel, waiting for the perfect time to start posting content, waiting for the perfect time to launch my webinar, whatever it may be. There is no perfect time. And procrastinating is the perfectionist's way to feel successful because they're always waiting for a perfect time. And so if there's anything that you get out of that little moment, is business and in life is all about imperfect action. Imperfect action, taking imperfect actions, just go and go and go, and just being decisive, deciding. Because the worst decision that you can make is not making a decision. You see, school has conditioned you that there's only one right answer, that there's only one right path, that there's only one right way towards success, and that's bullshit. Because you know it, there's multiple ways to be successful, fulfilled, and happy in it. Each decision has a pro and con. Just decide and deal with it. Just move on. And so what you see here is an imperfect environment, and that's what we're going to go through today. So to give you a little background on myself, in 1996, my mom went in for a late ultrasound. They sat them down, they pulled the baby up on the screen, and suddenly the doctors started looking at each other with some puzzled faces. And they said, "What's wrong? What's going on with my baby?" And they said, "Well, from the looks of it, it doesn't look like your baby's limbs are being developed. Looks like he's missing his arms, his legs, his face might be messed up. Clearly my face isn't messed up." And they looked at my parents and said, "Your baby boy has Hanhart syndrome." And what Hanhart syndrome is a super rare genetic disorder that either leaves the babies with undeveloped limbs or undeveloped organs. And so at the time of my birth in 1996, I was the 12th baby in medical history that they've ever seen this happen to. And out of the 12, 8 of those babies have passed away due to undeveloped organs. And so they looked at my parents and they said, "Mr. and Mrs. Santanastasso, your baby boy has about a 30% chance to live." Now, as a parent, if you're a parent listening, what would you do? You probably wouldn't know what you'd do unless you were in that situation. In that moment, my parents made a massive decision, a massive promise. And that promise was that they were going to focus on the 30% chance of me living versus the 70% chance of me dying. The reason being, what you focus on, you'll get more of. What you focus on expands. And more importantly, what you focus on, you feel. And what you feel is your life. Which, by the way, in another episode in the future, I'm going to take you through a focus evaluation. So keep listening because the focus stuff is going to be really important, but we don't got time for that today. But what you focus on, you feel, and what you feel is your life. And so my mom focusing on the fact that I was going to survive. Luckily, 9 months later, I popped out. They did tests on my organs, and my organs came back 100% healthy, and the only thing that was affected were my limbs. So here I am in this unicorn body with no legs and one arm. And growing up, I'll give you two of the things. I'll give you two massive skills that my parents implemented or conditioned me with, right? So growing up, I didn't realize I was too different, right? I didn't realize what I was different, and my biggest superpower was my parents treated me normal. And the reason why I say that is my mom wrote a book on how she raised me. But the beautiful thing about the book is the powerful title. And the powerful title was How We Raise an Adaptive Child in a Handicapped World. Because the truth is that you could be born with all your legs and all your arms, but because of your upbringing, you were handicapped and you were crippled. You were conditioned a certain way. You got limiting beliefs. You got limiting stories. You have a certain perception of the world that what I can achieve and what I can't achieve. So the truth is, your conditioning and your beliefs is what's gonna shape your destiny. So being born with no legs and an arm, one of the things that my parents did at an early age was they sat me down, they put my clothes in front of me and said, Nick, figure it out. And I would get so pissed off. I'm trying to put my shirt on, I fall on my face. I didn't understand what they were doing in the moment. But clearly, after enough repetition, I got clothes on today, I figured out how to put a shirt on, right? Now, my second challenge came. My parents put me in my high chair. They put some food there and a spoon and said, you know what time it is? Figure it out. And you betcha, after multiple repetitions, I figured out how to feed myself. But what were my parents doing? Whether they consciously knew it or not, what were they doing? Well, there was a few things that were massively important for yourself in entrepreneurship and business and in life. The first thing that they did was they helped me condition myself to be solution-oriented because they never did the work for me. They would only give me verbal suggestions. They'd never do the work for me. And so it got my brain in the groove of focusing on how. Why and how. How can I do this? What is the solution? The truth is, when you go out here, the majority of humans and entrepreneurs are focusing on the problem. And have you ever had a problem that was so eeny-bitty, like a small problem, and you focus all your energy on it and it became massive? Has that ever happened to you? That's because what you focus on, you'll get more of. What you focus on expands. You can focus on a problem that's so small and it can overwhelm you, right? So becoming solution-oriented, which, by the way, as an entrepreneur, you get paid to the problems that you solve. As entrepreneurs, we get paid for a few things: to make decisions, to lead, and to solve problems, right? So your ability or inability to solve problems is going to affect your income and your impact. Yes? Right? Now, the other thing that they did, which was extremely important, is I developed an amazing relationship with failure at a very early age. I failed at everything. It was a part of my life. I failed at getting dressed. I failed at feeding myself. I failed at getting on the couch. I failed at getting a girlfriend. I failed at everything. So I developed an empowering relationship with failure. Now that's key, because you can think back on your life and say, man, what are some of the things that I would have pursued if I wasn't afraid of failure or the opinions of others, right? How many things would I've achieved or pursued if I wasn't afraid of the failure or the opinion or what are people going to think of me if I fail? And so I came up with a little quote that's gonna ring a bell, and it's gonna remind you, and it's gonna stick in your head. If failure is a friend, you'll learn till the end. If failure is a foe, you will never grow. The truth is, the only thing standing in between you and your superhuman self is two things: time, and that person failed more. Failure's feedback. Failure's like surveying what you're doing. Just fail, get feedback, learn, and move on. That's the approach that we need to take in business. Imperfect action, failing, surveying. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? Let me move on. But failure's feedback. And the third thing that my parents cultivated me at a very early age was I developed a very good relationship with rejection. Like I said, I got rejected by everything. I got rejected by my clothes, my food, the toilet seat, the car, the girls, the couch, business. I understood that rejection was part of the process. Now, a lot of times that throws people off because what we do is we tend to misdiagnose ourselves. And how we misdiagnose ourselves is a few ways. We can go into a sales job and we're so excited. And then we go and we try to close our first deal and that person says no. Because that person says no, we then develop a belief about who we are with sales. Is this for me? Can I really do this? I suck at closing, blah, 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 blah. And then you misdiagnose yourself because you weren't persistent enough to get the results that you wanted. The truth is, most humans aren't persistent enough to get the results that they want. You need to be persistent enough to get the first yes, to get the first proof of concept, to get the first close, the conversion, so you say, wow, I can really do this. That's the hard part. Once you get your first yes, you're on a roll. How many of you remember your first yes, your first sale, your first conversion, your first job, your first raise? Once you got it, you said, I can have more of this. And another way that we misdiagnose ourselves is someone told us some shit and we believed it. What if I were to tell you the most of your thoughts that you're thinking aren't yours, you picked them up along the way? Would you believe me? Because the truth is, along the way, someone told you that you weren't good enough and you believed that shit. Along the way, that girl told you that you were unattractive and you started to believe that shit. Along the way, someone in your family, your friends told you can never build a business because no one in your family is an entrepreneur and you believe that shit. Someone told you were a big bone so you can't lose the weight. It's bullshit. You misdiagnose yourself. The question for you is, will I be persistent enough to get the results and the new experience that I want? Because when you get new results and a new experience, it feeds into the belief of who you are. And your beliefs shape your destiny. So like I said, the challenge is, will I be persistent enough to get the results and the experiences that I want so it feeds in my belief of who I am, right? So why am I on this pursuit of mastery? I'm not going to go through my whole entire life story, but there's two defining moments that I'm going to end off with, which, by the way, what you're going to notice about these podcasts is when it's just me, I'm going to be straight to the point. You're going to get massive value, massive notes. It's not going to be 4 hours. It could be 4 hours if I wanted, but I'm going to dumb it down, not dumb it down, but shrink it down into 30 minutes, 45 minutes of massive value. So it's a quick learn and it's a quick implement, right? So there's two defining moments that started my pursuit of growth, personal development, coaching, teaching, which, by the way, maybe I'll do a longer podcast episode of my whole entire life story. But for this one, it's just a light intro and I don't want to overwhelm you, right? And so I was 20 years old and I was coming off Vine. I was a famous prankster and I wanted to do something bigger and better. And I wanted to become a bodybuilder. And it's so funny because when a man with no legs of an arm tells people he wants to become a bodybuilder, what do they say? How can you become a bodybuilder? You have no legs. And I'm like, well, most bodybuilders skip leg day anyway. I'll fit right in, right? And so I wanted to pursue bodybuilding. And I'm a firm believer. The only reason why I have this much success or accolades, whatever you want to call it, at 25 years old is because I learned from people who have the results and the life that I want. Don't let that go over your head. I always learn from the people who have the results and the life that I want because they're going to help me condense time. And so I moved to Tampa to pursue bodybuilding. And my buddy Cody, my best friend, he trained me. He was jacked and I got jacked because of Cody. But one of my mutual friends said, hey, come to this mastermind. There's about 8 entrepreneurs. I just want you to meet people. You never know who you meet. You never know what will happen. So I'm like, sure. I remember, I'm a 20, 21-year-old kid, and I was solely focused on bodybuilding. I was going to become the best bodybuilder. I was going to become Mr. Olympia. I was going to have a massive following in bodybuilding. And everybody's sharing their story, and they get to me. They're like, can you share your story? I'm like, yeah, I got a long story. You got a long time? And so I started to share my story. And I was just sharing my life story. It wasn't really lessons or anything. And at the end of sharing my story, there was a Russian guy to the left of me, and he looked at me, and he said, you're going to be on stage with Tony Robbins one day. I said, who's Tony Robbins? I was 20, 21 years old, had no idea who Tony was. And he told me who Tony was, the best business life strategist. He said he did a lot of events and seminars all over the world, changed millions of lives. And I was like, dude, you're crazy. And he's like, bro, I know you don't know me. And I know we don't even have a relationship yet. But you have a story. And I see you. I just have this vision. I see you on the biggest stages in the world. He said, I'm going to work for you for free. And if you like the work we do, maybe one day we'll start a company together. Well, fast forward 5 years later, 2 7-figure companies, almost 7-figure companies, on a world tour with Tony Robbins. And Ratmir is a brother and a best friend and a business partner of mine. Here we are, right? Now, there's a few lessons in that. The first lesson is get in the right room. You see, the most successful people in the world, the highest achievers, are always looking for the next level room. You never want to be the richest or the smartest in the room because that means you're in the wrong room. And you want to elevate your standards. You want to elevate your peer group. And so always looking for the right rooms to elevate your standards and to elevate your life. So that was the first thing. I was like, I got in the room and this opportunity came. My life has never been the same because I got in the right room. But the second lesson is sometimes it takes a friend, a stranger, a coach, or a mentor to see a gift in you that you may have not seen in yourself. It's kind of like a dusty trophy or a dusty lion on the shelf. You don't really pay attention to it until your buddy or your mom comes over and she shines it. And you're like, oh my God, look at that trophy. She's like, it's been there the whole time. You just didn't shine it. You just didn't polish it. And so for me, Ratmir had saw the gift in me that I didn't even see in myself. Ratmir had massive belief in me that I didn't even see in myself. He saw me speaking. I didn't even know if I wanted to speak. But that's how we started the company of personal development, education, coaching, speaking. And these are all skills. These are all muscles that you can acquire, that you can equip, which we're going to get into in the further episodes. But this is just the intro. I hope you're getting massive value out of today, right? So get in the right room, but also surround yourself with coaches and mentors that may see something in you that you may not see in yourself. And so from that, I was on the pursuit of equipping myself with tools and strategies so I can help change the world. Now there was this is the last event, the second massively impactful event that happened in my life that reaffirmed my journey but gave me a new fire under my ass. And so it was about 2 years ago, it was in April, and it was my dad's birthday. And, so I called my dad, I FaceTime my dad, I'm like, hey dad, happy birthday, you getting old? He's like, screw you. I'm like, how's everything going? He's going great. I'm like, how's Mike, my brother? I'm like, how's Mike? He's like, he's really good, I think he's been doing well. I'm like, that's great, Dad, it's great to hear. If you need anything, let me know. Click. About 2 hours later, my dad's FaceTiming me again. I'm like, oh, this is a little weird. And I pick up the phone. And my dad's hysterical crying. He says, son, I'm at the crime scene. We just identified your brother. He's dead. He overdosed on heroin and fentanyl. And I don't have the strength to tell your older sisters, can you do it for me? Oof. Yes, Dad, whatever you need. So I hang the phone up. And I call my 2 other sisters and I proceed to tell them that their brother is dead and he's no longer here. Now the reason why I share that is for multiple reasons. The first thing is your brain is not designed to focus on your happiness. Your brain is not designed to make you happy. That's your job. And one of the ways that you can continue to grow and stay happy and fulfilled is ask yourself great questions. I mentioned this. And so I've trained my brain to ask myself a series of questions. And the series of questions is this. What did I learn from this? What did I gain? And who am I going to become because of this? You know it. You and I both know it. How many times have you seen a death in the family cripple and handicap people for weeks, years, months? Maybe a death in the family, maybe an abortion, maybe it was a financial burden, a divorce, who knows? There's events that cripple and handicap people for years. Unless they find the learnings, and then they can liberate themselves. And so when I asked myself those questions, I realized this. The first thing I realized was, wow, I'm glad my dad thought I was man enough to do that, to call my sisters. I'm glad that he found strength in me that he may not found in a moment. I'm glad I could be a man for my dad. Because the truth is, as a man with no legs or an arm, there's a lot of times where I feel inferior, where I don't feel like a man. I can't pick my girlfriend up and run her around. I can't hold her hand the ways that you guys hold hands. I can't throw up the dukes and fight another man if they're squaring up and trying to get after my girl or something. I can't do that stuff. So there's a lot of times where I don't feel like a man. Just being honest. But I felt like a man in that moment. The second thing that I learned, that my brother's suffering and his battle was over. I knew I was there for him. But the third thing that set in was a little bit of guilt. And the guilt came in as the voice of, Nick, you helped change millions of lives. You trained millions of entrepreneurs all around the world. Why couldn't you change your brother? And I sat there in my shitty diaper for a little bit. Kind of like, damn, did I fuck this up? Could I have saved him? I was there as much as I could be. But from that moment on, my friends, it was confirmation and reassurance that I was going to continue my path, my pursuit of mastery, to equip myself with the psychological tools, strategies, and equipment so no one has to go through what my brother has to go through. There's some work, that we're doing with our partner Ryan, where we have rehab facilities all over the country with content and education to lower relapse levels, right? There's so many amazing things that my brother blessed me with his life because I found the learnings and I found the gifts. And so you're wondering, Nick, why do you do what you do? That's why. Because the truth is, there's a lot of pain in the world. And there's a lot of people suffering, but more importantly, there's a lot of people sleeping and they don't know the power that they have within. I'm a living, breathing example that it's not the physical body that holds you back. But the biggest disability you can have is a bad mindset. It's the psychology. And that's what I'm going to commit to you today. For this series of podcasts, I'm committing to you. I'm going to over-deliver. I'm going to bring some of the best psychology tools, strategies for your business, your body, your mind, your relationships, your wealth. I'm going to bring it all because I have been on a journey for the past 5 years of learning from some of the greatest in the world. And I'm grateful to have a dear friend and a dear mentor that I'm on a world tour with, Tony Robbins. He's the GOAT. 45 years of speaking and training people. You think I learned a few things from him. So with that being said, this is my commitment to you. Maybe make a commitment to yourself today for a few things. Evaluating your relationship with failure. Evaluating your relationship with rejection. Taking your damn power back. Getting true to your purpose. Being a student of the game. Getting in the right rooms. Finding the right coaches and mentors. Tony always told me, he said, Nick, the two most powerful things that you can have in your business are new eyes and new ears. Because you're in the forest of your business. But when someone can see it from a 30,000 foot view, they can see things that you can't see. So this is my commitment to you. My friends, welcome to the Victorious Podcast, the first ever episode. Many more. I'm honored that you chose me. And even on this episode, you gave me your most valuable asset, your time and your energy, and I don't take that lightly. So with that being said, stay victorious, pursue your superhuman life, and I'll see you on the other side. I'm Nick Santastasso. Stay victorious.